a name before you go live, and people are like setting strange names for it.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. All right. Turn down volume to 0. Let's see us go live here real quick, mentally. We're live over here. Almost cooking mentally. Hey. All right, we're live. And let me go ahead and post our link on the channel. I'll get some peeps rolling in. 1 second. There's Slack. Sunrun, let's see. Generate. There it is. Okay. So we'll start here in a minute. Hey everyone, good to see people start rolling in here, and we're gonna wait a minute since the session hasn't started yet for everyone else. But if you're here in the session, come in and introduce yourself in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Post your LinkedIn profile. We'd love to connect with you as well. Post some emojis as well. Give us some encouragement as we're going along. We'll wait a couple minutes here. Let's do one more thing as well.
Hey, is there a place I see can see that streaming as well?
Yeah, if you go to YouTube on your phone and then just turn the volume down, make sure to turn the volume down.
Sorry, where is that link?
It's on the Mentally page. So the Mentally, I can text it to you. All right, it looks like we got some people coming in here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vivint Solar information session. I'm joined today with Brian Rossiter, one of my close friends and compadres from California, the Bay Area. They're living out in Santa Cruz, and excited to chat to you a little bit about open roles at Vivint and all of the opportunity that is there for you if you're interested in a job and working in California. And I mean, Vivint is hiring all over the country, and so Brian will be able to help you out if you're interested in other roles as well. But for those folks that have just joined us, if you could introduce yourself in the chats, we love that, and tell us a little bit about what you're looking for, where you're tuning in from. That would be awesome. And then if you have any questions as we go throughout this thing, feel free to ask. And then when we get to a Q&A section in the information session, we'll dive in and we'll be able to help you out. With that said, let's go ahead and kick things off. A little bit of background to Brian and Vivint Solar. I grew up in South Africa, had no kind of experience with solar energy, or didn't have any connections to the industry when I came and started living out here in the States. And then we moved out to the Bay Area in California, and we were fortunate enough to meet Brian and his family. And he talked to me all about the work that he was doing. And it was just so fun. One, learning about the industry, and two, learning about all of the fantastic good that it does, not only for their customers and the money that they save, but just for the environment and the world. And so it's a really cool company with a really cool mission and some really cool news, which we'll discuss a little bit later. But without further ado, I wanted to introduce you to Brian. Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. Luke's man, big shout out to Luke for putting this together. I know it's a ton of work, and I think what's cool is what we're doing is very hand in hand with I know what your mission is on helping people land, the right type of jobs. And I've been lucky enough to work here at Vivint Solar for almost 8 years, which nowadays and age, kind of first job out of college, there's not a lot of people that feel like there's enough reason to stay at a company for that long. And so it's been a good ride, and it's been fun to see people join up. But Kesman, go back to your question again.
Yeah, no, for sure. We've talked a lot about this, Brian, and I think the folks that are coming on now, like maybe some of them are new to sales, and this is something that they're starting to think about. Maybe others are seasoned sales vets, but haven't really experienced sales at Vivint Solar. Like, what makes you passionate about sales over these last 8 years? Like, what gets you fired up?
Yeah, so for me, I feel like I always had kind of an itch. Like growing up, I always had an itch to go and try to find ways to make money. I realized that if I wanted something, I had to figure out how to get it. I didn't grow up. I grew up in a great home and solid kind of middle upper class family, but not a lot of handouts. And so I grew up in a somewhat affluent area, and I saw a lot of my friends, and they were they got a lot. It kind of seemed to be handed a lot, or if they wanted new shoes or they wanted a bike or this or that. And I didn't necessarily have, my parents had a little different mentality, and it was a lot more earning it. So I started working and learning how to work at a young age. But selling kind of seemed to be the place where I found, I did anything from cleaning at my dad's office and, inventory or other things. But I found that pretty quickly you could make the most bang for your buck if you could learn how to sell things. And so I kind of gravitated towards that. So I've really pretty much worked in sales, most of my life in different capacities. And I think even now, like this environment we're in today is super unique. It's turned the world upside down, super crazy. And I not only am I in sales, but I'm in a 100% commission sales role. So Vivint Solar, we have thousands of employees in various roles, from accounting, finance to everything you could imagine of a big public company. But we're definitely a sales-driven company, and our biggest channel by far is our direct sales channel, which I represent. And the thing that I think is, for me, what increasingly has become more beneficial, and I've been more and more grateful for it over time, is just realizing that if you can, when you're in a sales role, especially a sales role that's such a heavily commission-based role, you are your own. You're willing to take a bet on yourself. You really secure your own job. No one else is there to tell you if you're going to have a job tomorrow or not. It's 100% on you. And in an environment like that, for the type of people that want to make a bet on themselves, it's actually, what I think is funny is people have this conception that it's probably the most scary thing to do. it's probably the most secure job that you could find, because we're a profit center. Like we get paid when the company gets paid, and all companies want to get paid. So I'm really passionate about that because it gives you kind of an uncapped potential, but it also allows you to kind of be your own backstop. You know, you're no one's going to fire you if you're producing and doing it the right way, and it just creates a lot of freedom. So I like being on that side. I like being on the side of the company that brings money in, because if you're doing that well, you'll always have a ton of opportunity.
100%. And I think when you first told me that, because this whole world was new to me when we first started chatting, when you first told me your entire salary was based on commission, the initial feeling, like you said, was just like, whoa, like that sounds a little bit scary. But there's a massive upside to that, right? So can you talk a little bit about that and why, that's been a huge opportunity? You talked about coming from a middle class family growing up and all of that. Like, talk about how a commission-based role has changed your life in terms of compensation and all of that.
Yeah, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and my dad's an entrepreneur, and so it's very similar in that regard. Because if you go start a business, like you have, Luke, and there's anyone you've seen, kind of step in that realm, they're doing the same thing, right? So it's you're only as good as the value you bring to the market. And so for me, again, it can feel scary, but the cool part, if you look at it like this, if you look at it and say, hey, if you assess yourself and assess kind of the job and, get a good understanding of what it takes, you kind of can stack yourself up against it and say, hey, do I think I could do that? And if I can, what's my risk reward? Yes, there's a little more risk, because at the end of the day, you're not gonna bring home a paycheck if you don't bring business in. But if you look at it from a standpoint, like compare that to a traditional sales job or a traditional just role in general, especially sales, especially if it's a salaried sales job. Well, if you have 100 employees, 100 sales guys out there, and they're each bringing out a different level of business, and maybe they have a little bit of a commission pop on top of the salary or whatever, but that base salary is essentially floating the whole organization. And if you have some people that just aren't maybe a good fit or not doing very well or not very ambitious, and they're kind of sucking up that salary, and they're actually getting more value from the company than they're giving, it's a really bad place to be. But it also puts a financial strain on the company, because that's actually holding back the higher end of that. So if you have companies that sometimes they create these compensation structures that actually they disincentivize you to actually overperform. There's just some sort of a diminishing return. And with us, it's exactly the opposite. The sky's the limit, because every home, in our case we do solar, and every home we can help utilize solar energy is going to benefit the rep. They're going to make a commission, the company is going to make money, and the homeowner is going to save money. So it's a unique value proposition, and it's a pretty cool place to be.
That's awesome. And what I love about it is that, you don't have to be this person who's been like 20 years in software sales or something like that to be able to come in. Like, if you, like you're talking about, if you have grit and you have that determination to want to do well, anyone can do it. I mean, like, I know we're going a little bit off scripture, but I remember you telling me at one time about a guy that had come from Southern California that had literally no experience with sales, and he came in, and maybe you can tell that story. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So that's what's cool is in this job, and you mentioned the word grit, which is interesting, because it's something we've been talking a lot about. I'm involved in hiring and training and building a sales team, and have been for a long time. And you see a lot of people come from all sorts of backgrounds. You can have very seasoned sales pros. You can have people that have never thought about selling, and somehow they got introduced and kind of made the decision to give it a shot. And the biggest thing is that we've identified is how gritty is someone, how willing are they to just do the work, and it's uncomfortable work sometimes, right? So we have a rep in the office here in the Bay Area. Joined us maybe a couple of years ago, and he came from a volunteer position a couple of years ago where he was literally like, he kind of had room and board and was making like $50 a week. So his W-2 for the year would be $2,500. And it was definitely volunteer based. He was doing it for other reasons, but he learned how to work really hard at something that wasn't tied to income. And I think that skill built a lot of resiliency and grit into him. So when he kind of was looking at, getting married and eventually growing a family, to him, he started looking at other opportunities and like, okay, I've fulfilled that, kind of scratched that itch. I would like to go and, kind of set my family up a little better. And, he came in and honestly, there was time for a little bit. I just like, I'm curious to see if this will work out for this guy. He has no background in anything like this. And, he just grinded through it and started making pretty decent money. And then by his second year, he was making what, a doctor or a high paid lawyer is making. And it's really cool to see that it's literally a correlation to how gritty is someone and how hard are they willing to work. And when they do it the right way, it just opens up doors. And so that's, it's story over story of those kind of experiences where you have guys from all walks of life that they come in and can find a place to work hard. If they're willing to come in and work hard, and they tend to do really well.
So I know you don't like to always share this, but like give us an idea of what a person like that might like, what he made after 2 years, like what he took home.
Yeah, so I mean, the data will say that like an average kind of entry level guy will make between 80 and 120,000, in this job, and that's probably pretty safe. I'm just going off what commission's giving us as numbers, but really there is a fair amount of churn. People who come into it and realize they're not willing to kind of do that work and for the ones that are, they kind of usually reach and then exceed that pretty aggressively, pretty fast. So I run a team about 25 guys here in the Bay Area, and the top 20-25% are going to make over 300 grand and up, and then kind of the base is going to be probably that middle, and solid income, and then there's some people that either are just comfortable getting by on a little less. Maybe they're enjoying the freedom of it. But we tend to we really want to bring people on that are the people that say, hey, I don't want to just do a job where I can maybe work less and make good money, but actually work hard and make great money.
100%.
But going back to real quick on his, just kind of speaking to the culture, if you were to ask him, I mean, he's just kind of, I think he tends to feel very grateful, and he's one of my favorite people. But when you talk to him, you ask him like what this job's been for him, he'll say, yeah, I've made great money. But this is someone who's been to every major NBA and NHL, MLB, and NFL game. He's been to all. I mean, we do so much. In fact, tomorrow we're going deep sea fishing for an incentive. We've been to Tahoe. So it's something that's given him a platform where he's been able to come in and get competitive and work hard. And so outside of making life-changing money, been able to enjoy so many of the perks of being in this kind of a job that's really, really favors and rewards the producers.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about that real quick. Like, tell us about Vivint Solar specifically. I know Vivint is just this conglomerate of a number of different companies and products. Tell us about Vivint Solar. How did that get started? And give us a little bit of history.
Yeah, so I actually started working for Vivint Smart Home when it was APX Alarm, when I was in college, and I was the guy that told my friends not to do that. That was crazy. You're literally going to go door to door for commissions, like you're insane. I thought I knew better, and kind of a bunch of things, stars aligned, and I ended up going in college. So I'm from Utah, went to the University of Utah, and after my first year, I ended up kind of jumping into that summer model. And I sold alarms for a couple of years, in Alaska and Alabama and Wyoming, all over. And at the time, so Vivint was on a huge growth, and they just started the solar company when I was graduating school. So I studied business, and I thought, oh, cool. I did this little sales thing. I made good money at it, but I kind of figured I would, okay, yeah, I'll do that in college, and then I'll move on and go get a big boy job. And as I was kind of approaching that graduation, I was talking with an old contact from Vivint, and they said, hey, well, I said I would love to join a startup or a growth company. And they said, well, hey, have you thought about Vivint Solar? And I had barely heard of Vivint Solar at the time, and this was 2012. Vivint Solar started. It basically was a side project or spin-off of Vivint Smart Home in 2011, and so I started kind of talking about, maybe the company was about 6 months old, so they were just kind of had some test markets going, and I ended up joining right after I finished school in August of 2012. So it's literally right around now. It's been 8 years, and probably close to the day actually. And so I came out here to California. That was one of the new markets we were going to grow. And not 3 months after that, the company sold to Blackstone, and that was Vivint Solar and Vivint Smart Home, and that was a huge investment, and it really just put fuel on the fire. So over those next few years, we just grew like a weed, and within probably 2 years, we went from a nothing company, like just a startup as far as the solar goes, to we were the second largest solar company in the U.S. in literally probably under 2 years, and have continued to grow and solidify our position in the market. Since then, and I was around in, so was there in that kind of really early stage, and then through we had a successful IPO in 2014, raised like $330 million, and continued to grow over the years to really kind of be a powerhouse.
And now, if you fast forward a couple of years, Sunrun, like literally within weeks ago, like announced their intent to buy Vivint Solar. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. So about a month ago, Sunrun. So Sunrun just is, for those unfamiliar with the business, they're right now the largest solar company in the U.S. And they're out of the Bay Area, and they're very successful, and they've done a really good job kind of building that. And they've kind of built it through a different model, utilizing dealers and lots of subcontracting, and they kind of focus more on financing these projects. What we do really well is we are very vertically integrated, where we do the whole process. We own it from meeting a customer to managing that customer's solar equipment for decades. And so but our blood is sales, and that's a piece they just were working on getting done, and trying to reinforce and build, because we know in this industry, and I can talk about it a little more in a minute, but there's a great value proposition for customers, and it's such an educational business. Like, we have to get in front of them and educate them, and when you do, it becomes a pretty clear win for everyone involved, and we do that really well. So we really got their attention, and about a month ago, they signed an agreement to acquire Vivint Solar. So basically, the number one and number two joining up and really having a massive amount of synergies to go and take the market by storm, which has been great. The stock's gone up 250% since that announcement, and the market, and both on Sunrun and Vivint Solar. So I think the mind's a lot smarter than mine. Think it's a good idea, and I think we're lucky to be along for the ride.
Wow, that's awesome. And I'm sure there's big things to come there. Tell me real quick, as we're talking about the company, tell me a little bit about the culture. What is it like to work there?
Yeah, so I'll kind of jump in on this side. So guys, any of you that are interested in Vivint Solar in general, I'd recommend you go to the website, look at job postings. I'll speak specifically to our sales organization, and specifically our direct sales. So direct sales, what we mean by that is we are the guys that are on the front lines, going and educating and finding business, and we do that dominantly through door to door. And that's the kind of the piece that can be really scary. You add, like, okay, you're doing 100% commission job, and you're going to go knock doors to get that business. Like, how does that work? And I agree. If you're not in the right place with the right resources and tools, that's a really tough job. And I think what Vivint's done, and this is a credit huge to Vivint Smart Home and the DNA that we kind of grew from, is building a culture and a system that makes people very successful with that. Can I share my screen with you?
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. Tell me if you can you see that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm gonna jump in and for sake of time, there's a cool little video about one of the things that's titled even earn back time. So with this job, there is a great earning potential and an ability to kind of be autonomous as far as how you run your schedule. That really allows people to literally buy back years, both in getting ahead financially and being able to invest time with their families and things like that. So anyone that's interested, this is a presentation I can share. You guys can explore it, email me with questions and stuff like that. So I'm going to use this to kind of showcase a little bit some of the things that make us unique, and I'm happy to share this out to anybody who would like this presentation. So first thing I'm going to talk about is just why direct sales. So again, it's the biggest thing that I think makes people nervous is like, okay, so this is door to door, and why do we do that? Why do we think? Because when we started this company, we were laughed at. I mean, this is big solar companies have been building and growing, and they say, you guys are going to do this, you're going to do it door to door, like good luck. And literally we swallowed all of them overnight, because today, as mentioned, people skip commercials, they ignore billboards, they're screening calls, they do everything they can to marketing has gotten more sophisticated, and the consumer's gotten so sophisticated that you have to find a way to get in front of someone, right? And you've got to you have to have a compelling way to go and present a value proposition. So with door to door, we are literally allowing us to be face to face with a consumer at their home, and this is a home product, right? So we're face to face with them, and we're able to start engaging. And we teach you how to do that. And there's ways that you can, break someone's preoccupation and get them to open up and start talking. And as you get good and you're building momentum in an area, and so in a neighborhood, they're going to start seeing their neighbors getting solar panels, and they're going to get more and more curious. And so when you go there, it kind of warms up that conversation. But there's just so much that there's such an advantage to being able to do that. And that's just really been our secret sauce. So by doing that way, it really allows us to take control. We're not, I know I have friends at different, companies or worked in solar that rely on, other companies to create leads for them, or people, get inbound, leads, and then they get sent out to all these appointments, and they don't even know the quality of that. And it could go well or it could go bad, and you could waste a lot of time. But with this, you really get to own that process. So, it's just that we're willing to do the part of the job that a lot of people aren't, and that's what creates a lot of opportunity. Probably what I'm even more passionate about is why solar, why this industry, because I don't think I understood it very well when I joined, that this was going to be such, I didn't realize how big this was going to be. And what I think is really, really cool is when you start learning. So if you're going to get into sales roles, so guys, I know a lot of you guys are looking for maybe a career change, looking for a job, where are you going to put yourself? And you want to put yourself somewhere that has a lot of growth, and that especially if you're going to be in sales, you want to go sell a product people want, right? So what's cool is if you look at solar, the data shows us that it is exactly what people want. So 25% plus in a recent study, just over a quarter of Americans said they're extremely likely or somewhat likely to purchase solar in the next 2 years. So we have literally a quarter plus of Americans are saying, yeah, actually, I'm starting to see this solar thing happening. I'll probably do that at some point. And so we are basically taking a product to market that we know that people want. Of those people, 40%, so almost half of them said they would prefer to physically meet face to face with the sales representative, and that's that just gives us such an opportunity. If you look at the populations we're talking about, if we could, we're only about 1% penetration in our country in solar. So if you look at the demand is showing us, that there's a huge demand for it. There are some other challenges, certain states, regulations that make it challenging, but customer demand is really high. And as we find ways to bring that to markets, it's very well accepted. So again, there's a bunch of data just showing us, Deloitte and others are just showing us that people are extremely interested in solar. Boston Consulting Group is showing that 28% of Americans they've already researched it. That's 28% of Americans have researched solar and plan on going solar in the next 5 years. Nearly 40% hope to do so in the next 12 months. So we know we have a market. We know we have a product that people want. So back kind of to your question of why Vivint Solar. So that we understand that solar is something that people want, and we know we're really good at educating people on it and getting in front of customers. So that, I would say that's probably the biggest reason, is we know how to do that. We're really, really good. So we're also, you want to know if you're going to join a company that has the ability to continue to grow and take care of its customers over time. So we started in 2011, kind of fast forward, starting from one office down to 21 states, 53 offices in 20 plus states. You can see kind of our trajectory where, we've hit different milestones over time. But if you look at the growth that we've, sorry, the button's not working, but yeah, over the years, we've gone from 2011 from New Jersey was actually the first area we started selling solar, to being in 21 states and 53 sales offices. So one of the things that Vivint is, we believe in, kind of our values and standards is, we're really, it's a place where you can come and do something really positive. So we have a kind of a value of being good, doing good. We talk about celebrating the and. So in life and in business, there's so many things where it's like, well, if I do that, I can't do that. Or if I do this, if I take, this challenge, it comes to the other expense of the other. And we really challenge people to do the law of the and. So like, a good example of that is, one thing, when you come and join a sales team at Vivint Solar, you're not coming in and joining a team where, the manager is going to sit there and tell you, hey, this is how you do it. Go out there. Good luck, guys. This is, and then they're going to go back to their office and hang out on Facebook the rest of the day and watch those sales roll in. We celebrate the end that, like, in a management role, and this attracts a lot of high caliber people. So as you get into management and different roles, we expect that the manager not only, is able to run the sales team and hire and recruit and train and build and support their reps and everything, but actually personally outsell the majority, if not their entire team, week over week while they're doing it. And so we say, hey, manage and perform. It's a very lead from the front kind of mentality. We also, we want to win together, want to put people first, lead the revolution. So these are, values to us. And then probably one of the cool things about this, I think, speaks volumes to the company culture. So when COVID-19 hit, we are an entire organization with, I think over 1,600 salespeople across the country who overnight weren't able to go out and knock doors and all of that. And I was blown away with the response from the company. They poured every 24-hour resource into building out IT and support, knowledge share. We were on Zoom calls nonstop, sharing, hey, what's working? We were reaching out. We were mining for referrals. We're calling up customers maybe didn't make it through the process, and doing so much that we actually maintained over 50% of our volume overnight from not even being able to do what we do. And it speaks a lot to, like, the adaptability, especially in a market like this. So in fact, this is this guy here on the screen is one of the reps in my office that it was cool. One day on a Zoom call, I was, hey, where are you? And he kind of opened this tent. He was in Colorado, and he had a full workstation set up in his tent where he had a dual screen. He was using his Wi-Fi, and he was out there on these daily dials calling customers and getting business, just adapting on the fly. And it was a huge, I talked to a friend who was in Florida selling solar for another company. He called me, he's like, what are you guys doing? We're literally sitting on our thumbs. I'm like, dude, I haven't had a minute to sit on my thumbs because we've been busy. And now I look back and I see these kind of situations as these are the things that these are the cultural things that allow you to be your best self and allow you to, you don't have to be the guy that, steps up and figures it out. Like, you're part of an entire company of people that are like-minded that are going to do that. And all you have to do is just ride the wave. And I think it's a lot easier to use momentum to your advantage rather than have to be the guy that's always like, how do I get my company to work? How do I get my guys to do something? Like, where we bleed that. And so it's really cool to see kind of the transition that you can see at. We went to 100% remote process like overnight, and we did these really fun, Zoom calls where everyone would be on a Zoom call on one side and calling customers on the other and doing customer service and asking for referrals and, closing deals. And we literally just did it overnight. And I think, and in fact, that was one of the big keys to this deal with Sunrun. They allegedly they'd kind of been in talks with Vivint, last year, even in January, and when the pandemic hit, kind of went quiet, and then they saw our numbers and what we were able to do like that, and apparently that was kind of one of the big things that moved the needle on them, saying, hey, we need these people in our organization.
This is awesome, Brian. I'm just listening in here because I'm learning a lot, and it's just sweet to see how you're able to adapt. I think that those are the companies that will stand the test of time and do well. But they're also the companies that are super fun to work for. Is the ones that they can say, honestly, what we're doing right now isn't working, and let's pivot and make something happen. But that pivot happened, and now you guys are back out there and talking to people again, right?
Oh yeah, and it's been better than ever. So it's going through those experiences too that I think develop that same grit. It's not something you have to feel like you already have all of to come and do well here. It's something you're going to develop a lot in this job. In fact, another thing, I've had an accidental career here. I didn't expect to be here almost a decade, and I'll definitely be here a decade. But I have a buddy who, we lived pretty close to Luke here in the Bay Area a few years ago, and I had a buddy that was actually at Harvard Law, and he came out for a summer internship with a big law firm. They do, law for all the big startups and biggest companies in the world. And he was on a very prestigious internship with them. And he had worked for Vivint Smart Home in college and a little bit after, selling alarms and doing that. And he said they would have, when he was at Harvard Law, they'd have these people come out and do these kind of speed interviews, right? And the biggest companies that are just kind of trying to get a pulse for people they'd like to work with. And he said inevitably when he'd hand his resume in, he's at Harvard Law, right? So he obviously had a lot that set him apart. And every single recruiter would look and say, tell me about door-to-door sales. How was that? Tell me about that. And it was such a differentiator that really speaks volumes of someone who can do well at that, to help them in, kind of any environment. So it's not for everyone, but for the people who they feel an itch to do that, it can definitely be a huge benefit, short term, and also you just never know what kind of doors that may open up down the line.
That's awesome, Brian. We got a couple questions coming in here through the chat, and so keep them coming, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. But Brent asked a fantastic question. He said, what are the most important attributes of a top performing sales rep? And maybe if you could talk to folks on your team that have succeeded as well, what do you see?
So one thing with this job that is unique is it's pretty low structure from a day-to-day standpoint. So we have sales meetings a couple days a week. When you start, there's a little more intent. We have a little more new rep trainings and things that we boot camps that we work with you on. But outside of that, like our general kind of structure is we have sales meetings for an hour, 2 days a week. And outside of that, you're running your own kind of your own business, like you're running your own schedule. A lot of people, that sounds like the most attractive thing in the world, to just feel like, oh man, I'm not checking in or clocking out. And the people that are most successful are the ones that learn how to manage their time the best, and that's a skill. And so I would say that's one of the biggest things is people. The job's not that hard. It's can be scary, it can be intimidating for some people, but once you actually get out there and start talking to people about, so maybe I've had a huge miss here to just explain what it is, the product, and how we sell it. So the majority of our sales, and there's different markets where it may be a little different, but the majority of our sales, one thing that separates Vivint from a lot of other companies is most solar companies, they make their money by going and installing solar panels. It's kind of like a retail business. I'm with a car dealership. I bought a car. I'm floating a finance on this car, and I make my money on the margin of selling that car. With what we do, with the majority of our business, we're going to homeowners and saying, hey, look, you're paying a utility company X amount of dollars a month for power, and it's getting increasingly more expensive, and rate increases and everything else. We'd like to use your roof. We'll put panels on it at no cost. We're going to own them, maintain them, insure them. You're letting us essentially borrow your roof, and in return, you're going to save, market, depending on the market, maybe 10 to 40% on your power bill. And so the job in and of itself is not that hard. It's getting yourself out there. You're going to deal with rejection and other things, but it's just getting yourself out there. So the people who are the most successful are the people who learn how to manage a schedule the best and are able to just work the system. We have the system so dialed. I think that's what separates us. So if you come and you plug in and you do it, you'll do really well. If you, the people I see struggle are the people that oh, hey, yeah, I had a really bad week. Yeah, my car, I had to get an oil change, so I did that at 3 p.m. when I could have been working. It's just they let everything else kind of come into their life and override them, where you don't have that luxury in a job where you're expected to be somewhere a certain amount of hours. So if you can protect your hours, you do really well.
This is fantastic. And so I know we're coming up to the end of our time here. I want to be respectful of that, but as you look at, put yourself in the shoes of someone who's watching this. It might be someone that's just been laid off. Maybe it's someone who's looking for a career change. I know that you've had a couple of those folks start on your team. Maybe it's someone who's looking to make more money than what they're making right now and improve their career and their prospects. I mean, what would you say to a person like that? And where should they go to apply, if you could answer both of those?
Yeah. So I think if this is intriguing to any of you, you should definitely check it out. Best thing to do, if you look, you could put my email in the comments, and we can send it out. I'd love to send this presentation out, let you kind of explore that. And yeah, I'm a great resource. So I've worked for a company for a long time. No matter where you are in the country or would like to be, a lot of people relocate to places they've always wanted to live, or maybe where there's the best opportunity at the time, or maybe there's a great opportunity where you're already living. So best thing to do, you connect with me, tell me where you're at. I can help you get in touch with the right people. So I'm happy to be a kind of a direct resource to help people understand the job and maybe connect them to the right people to talk about if they'd be a good fit in their teams.
That's awesome. And I'm gonna find the link here real quick to post. So don't go yet, everyone, or you can go, but come back and check out the link. Brian, just wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to chat to everyone and telling them about your experience. I know for sure that this is a fantastic career opportunity and an opportunity to improve someone's prospects. It resonates with me so much. But we really appreciate you taking the time to tell us a little bit about it, and hope that we can make some connections here.
All right, man. Thanks, Luke.
See you, Brian. Cheers.